You'll never believe it, but the midget guys actually played nice last night at the BC 39. We'll talk about that, plus Thursday results from the USA Nationals and 360 Nationals, and we'll talk about the difference between Brad Sweet and David Gravel in the World of Outlaws Championship right now. Let's go. It's Friday, August 5th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is Dirt Tracker Daily. The 2022 BC 39 is in the books, and Buddy Kofoid was your USAC midget winner last night at the Dirt Track at IMS. Kofoid started 6th and got to the lead inside the final 10 laps. He and Cannon McIntosh got into an absolute slider fest for a few laps. And Kofoid had some wild moves late, just kind of on his own, including a wall ride to grab the win and the chance to kiss the bricks. McIntosh ended up second with Thomas Meserol third. Justin Grant hard charged from 18th to finish fourth, and Kyle Larson completed the top 5. Over the last few laps, with Buddy, McIntosh, T-Mez, and JG all right together, I figured there was no way all 4 would make it all the way to the end. And I'm sure I probably wasn't the only one thinking that. Don't lie to me, you were thinking that too. We were literally one dirty slider away from all 4 being piled up, and we've seen all 4 make some bad decisions this season, so that was not going to be a stretch if it happened. But somehow they raced each other pretty clean, all ended up finishing up front. Strange how that happens. Mitchell Moles was also in the mix early in the show. He led 12 laps, but he eventually made a mistake on the cushion and turned over. Larson did finish top 5, like I said, but he seemed to be missing a little bit of pace both nights. He was out of the pursuit race early on Wednesday, and it took him a while to really move forward last night from that 10th starting position. Never really a factor for the win. USAC did award feature points for the race last night, so we did have some movement in the standings, leaving the BC 39 Kofoid's lead over JG is now 86 points, with everyone else from T-Mez in third on back as well. All of those guys pretty far out of contention. USAC National Midgets now go quiet for the next month. We'll see them again on September 4th at Angel Park. Up at Cedar Lake Speedway in Wisconsin, the first of 3 nights for the USA Nationals took place for the World of Outlaws late models in the 6,000 to win feature. Jonathan Davenport started on the pole. He led the first 10 laps, but he bowed out with ignition issues. That handed the top spot to Mike Marlar, who held off challenges from Brent Larson and Gordy Gundaker to score the win. I don't know if you can say that Mike Marlar is the hottest super late model driver in the country right now, but if he's not the hottest, he's definitely one of the hottest. 13 straight top 8 finishes with Lucas, including 2 wins, and 8 podium finishes in his last 9 appearances with the Outlaws. That includes 3 wins. Then that includes last night's one. Tonight's program at Cedar Lake will include a bunch of heat races and a dash to set the lineups for Saturday's 50,000 to win main event. In the Outlaw standings, Dennis Erb Jr. continues to lead, but Tanner English is now second with a nice 14th to 3rd charge last night. English doesn't have an Outlaw win yet in 2022, but he does have 7 straight top 7 finishes and 13 top 10s in his past 15 starts. I feel like Erb's consistency this season that we've seen is probably good enough to keep him in the championship lead from here on out. It's probably out of reach at this point for those other challengers. But English has come on strong here in recent weeks. We've kind of been talking about this battle here between the two, Blair and English for second. The prediction formula is actually giving English a slight edge for the win over Brandon Shepard for tomorrow. That one surprises me a little bit. I'm going to go Davenport, though. He was really strong last night before the issues, and I think he'll be ready to roll come the main event on Saturday night. One other series note for you here. We were just talking about Steve Francis departing the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series as an official, and it certainly didn't take him long to find his next gig. The Outlaws announced yesterday that they've hired Francis as their director of competition, and he'll work with series director Casey Schumann going forward. Francis' wife, Amanda, will also join the staff. She'll be working on fan engagement. You can watch the USA Nationals from Cedar Lake all weekend long live over on DIRTVision. The other big event that got underway last night was the 360 Nationals at Knoxville. 51 cars participated with Sam Hafertepe Jr. He took the lead in the feature from Thomas Kennedy on lap 7 and drove away to the prelim night win. Defending event winner from last year, Gio Selza, was second on the night with Aaron Reitzel rounding out the podium. Reitzel is also high point man following this first full night of action. There were definitely some guys that had nights to forget on Thursday, but the worst may have been Shane Golubic. He went quick time on the night, but then very early in the first heat race made contact with the right rear of McKenna Hassey, which sent him for a wild ride into the turn 4 fencing. The car absolutely destroyed. Golubic done for the night. I'm not sure they were able to save much off that NOS energy drink ride after the crash. If you were watching on DIRTVision, you saw Wade Onger point out a completely stripped chassis after that run. I'll be curious to see, too, if that team even attempts to move forward on Saturday, if they'll just call it a weekend and get ready for the 410 stuff coming up. Tonight's second prelim program includes nearly 60 pre-entries, and the list includes Kyle Larson, Ian Madsen, Tanner Carrick, Blake Hahn, Justin Sanders, Darren Pittman, Brady Bacon, Brian Brown, Ryan Timms, Tyler Courtney, and Buddy Kofoid. And that's just a few of the guys. So another incredibly tough night coming up there at Knoxville. Don't forget the Saturday night main event in Knoxville pays $30,000 to the winner of the 360 Nationals are live all weekend long over on Dirt Vision. And if you are like me and you use Dirt Vision on your Roku, I had a hard time finding the 360 Nationals last night. I actually had to go to the search box and just search for 360 to be able to see them. They weren't popping up in the main kind of rotation there for for the night. So if you're having trouble finding them on the Dirt Vision app, if you're watching on the Roku like I am, just go search for 360. If you're a USMTS fan, Terry Phillips picked up his 37th career series win last night at 81 Speedway. He led 24 laps and topped Cale Westover and Dan Ebert. The Modifieds are headed to Humboldt tonight and Lucas Oil Speedway on Saturday. Those shows will be live over on Race and Dirt. And before the World of Outlaws competitors roll to Knoxville for the Nationals next week, the traditional Ironman 55 weekend at Peevely is on tap for tonight and tomorrow. I know they've had some rain kind of leading into this week, but the weather for the next 2 days does look pretty good. With the issues lately for several of the top 5 runners, the points battle right now is basically between Brad Sweet and David Gravel. Those two are separated by 36 points. Remember, that's only about 18 positions at 2 points per spot with the Outlaws. Carson Macedo and Sheldon Hodenshield have both fallen more than 100 points behind, and Donnie Schatz and Logan Schuhart have continued to lose ground. Hodenshield is the defending Ironman winner. He actually swept the weekend 1 year ago, and he also picked up wins at Peevely in 2020 and 2019. Macedo won at the track earlier this year back in April. Kyle Larson actually leads the Outlaws in recent years in average finish at the Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55, but he's in Knoxville and Michigan this weekend, so we will not see him with the Outlaws. Brad Sweet is actually second in average finish, sitting right about a 4th place finish over the last 15 races there. The Big Cat is the favorite from the prediction formula tonight, but I'm going to go Sheldon. I think this is a good track for that crew to bounce back from their issues at Weedsport last weekend. I think both Hodenshield and Macedo need to stack up some wins in the coming weeks if they're going to have any shot at catching Sweet and Gravel in the title fight. An interesting stat note here, too, about Gravel. He leads Sweet in wins and top 10s on the season, and he's tied in top 5s, but actually trails in the standings because of his average finish. It's just a little bit worse than Sweet's right now, about half a position through 45 races. And if you really dig into their results, the real difference between the two, between Sweet and Gravel, is their stumbles. Sweet has 7 finishes outside the top 10, but none worse than 16th. His average finish in those 7 races is 12.86. On the flip side, Gravel has 6 races with finishes outside the top 10, but his worst is a 23rd place finish. And the 6 races he's finished outside the top 10, his average finish is 16.67, nearly 4 spots worse than Brad. So when it goes bad for Gravel, it goes worse than it does for Sweet. When things are this tight, the championship fight could very easily come down to who is able to minimize the damage on those off nights. Right now, the edge in that category is very much with the KKR 49. If you want to dive into more stats and analysis like this, go grab a monthly or yearly subscription to Dirt Tracker Plus, $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year. The yearly deal basically gives you 2 months free, but all kinds of extra stat tools, all kinds of good stuff in there. You can do driver comparisons. There's a ton of extra stat categories. There's all kinds of good stuff in there. Go check that out if that's something you're interested in. Both nights of the Ironman 55 weekend will be live over on Dirt Vision. Speaking of the streaming schedule, we're north of 30 shows on it for today with a lot more to come this weekend. That includes both World of Outlaws series and the 360 Nationals on Dirt Vision. Flow Racing and Speed Sport have a bunch of weekly and regional action. We talked about the USMTS on Race and Dirt and a whole lot more. To see what there is to watch over the weekend, head over to dirttracker.com/watch tonight. That's it for the show today. Enjoy the dirt racing weekend ahead. If you have thoughts about the topics on today's show, please leave them in the comments below or tweet at me. Also, let me know any win picks you have for the weekend, maybe where you're headed or what you're going to be watching on the streaming services. Curious to see what you guys got going on. Thanks everybody for tuning in this week. We'll be back on Monday for more Dirt Tracker Daily.